Today, we revisit the involuntary manslaughter trial of Michael Jackson's doctor. On Wednesday, prosecutors played a chilling recording of the pop icon speaking in a slow, slurred voice. Michael Jackson grew up under the strict discipline of his father, Joe Jackson, who often used a belt to enforce the rules. Meanwhile, his mother, Catherine, was a source of warmth and kindness, setting aside her own dreams of singing to support her family and their faith. Home life for Michael was a whirlwind of emotions, from happy moments shared with his siblings to the deep sadness following the loss of his twin brother, Brandon. Could these dark secrets of the past explain the tragedy that came to shape his life and the headlines we see today? Together, let's explore the mystery behind Michael Jackson's phenomenal comeback. Why would he have wished for a white child to represent him? I am a Black American, and I'm proud of it. I am proud of my race, who I am, and the dignity that I carry within me. Behind the Jackson family's turmoil was Catherine, the nurturing force. A talented clarinet and piano player, Catherine once dreamed of becoming a country singer. Yet, she took on part-time work at Sears to support her family while remaining devoted to her Jehovah's Witness faith. Joe Jackson, on the other hand, was a strict figure who worked as a crane operator and played guitar in a local R&B band called the Falcons. This seemingly ordinary part of his life would soon become a key factor in a looming tragedy, a story we'll uncover later. Stay with us as we delve into the darkest chapters of this tale. Living in the Jackson household wasn't merely about surviving. It was about finding something worth fighting for. Michael grew up with 3 sisters, Rebby, LaToya, and Janet, and 5 brothers, Jackie, Tito, Jermaine, Marlon, and Randy. Sadly, Marlon's twin brother, Brandon, died at birth, casting a shadow over an otherwise vibrant home. But that wasn't the worst of it. In 1964, Michael and Marlon took their first steps into music, joining a group their father formed called the Jackson Brothers. Imagine young Michael, already playing the congas and tambourine. At home, however, things were much tougher. Joe Jackson was known for his strict discipline. Imagine a child facing his father, belt in hand, ready to punish him for any misstep. This discipline left both physical and emotional scars on Michael. Joe later admitted to using the belt regularly, a common practice at the time, though it left lasting marks on Michael. Then something incredible happened. In 1965, Michael moved from the background to the forefront, sharing lead vocals with his brother Jermaine. The group, now called the Jackson 5, started winning talent contests. Picture this young boy captivating audiences with his voice and dance moves on songs like Barefootin' and My Girl. This was no longer just a pastime. It was the beginning of something far bigger. From 1966 to 1968, the Jackson 5 toured, performing in clubs on the Chitlin circuit for Black audiences, opening for stars like Sam and Dave and Gladys Knight. These shows were tough and demanding, but they helped them refine their craft and build a name. Then, in August 1967, they achieved something extraordinary. They won an amateur night at the iconic Apollo Theater in Harlem. The thrill was indescribable. This wasn't just a victory. It was their ticket to stardom. Back in Gary, Indiana, they recorded their first single, Big Boy. But this was just the start. Soon, the world would witness the rise of a music legend. In 1968, Steeltown Records signed them, and it was Bobby Taylor of Bobby Taylor and the Vancouvers who discovered them and took them to Motown. This was the breakthrough they had been waiting for. The Jacksons moved to Los Angeles, poised to become superstars. Motown had a plan to launch them to fame. Diana Ross would introduce the Jackson 5 to the world. Their first televised appearance at the Miss Black America pageant in 1969 was a huge success, with Michael already stealing the spotlight. Then came a series of chart toppers. In January 1970, I Want You Back reached #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in the United States, followed by 3 more hits, ABC, The Love You Save, and I'll Be There. The Jacksons quickly became famous and wealthy. By 1971, they moved into a grand estate in Encino, California. But Michael wasn't just a performer. He was becoming a youth idol. Between 1972 and 1975, he released 4 solo albums, Gotta Be There, Ben, Music and Me, and Forever, Michael. Remarkably, his song, Ben, dedicated to a rat, topped the charts, a feat only he could have achieved. New challenges were emerging on the horizon as old ties began to strain. Michael Jackson embarked on a courageous quest for artistic freedom. Despite his solo success, he remained loyal to his brothers. The Jackson 5 continued to innovate, attracting a broad audience and setting new trends. However, they began to grow weary of Motown's strict control and wanted more creative freedom. Michael's famous robot dance during a dancing machine performance on Soul Train became iconic, highlighting his desire to explore new artistic ideas. In 1975, they left Motown, signed with Epic Records, and changed their name to the Jacksons. Jermaine stayed with Motown to pursue a solo career, while their youngest brother, Randy, joined the group. The Jacksons continued to tour worldwide and released 6 more albums between 1976 and 1984. During this time, Michael became the group's primary songwriter, creating hits like Shake Your Body, Down to the Ground, and Can You Feel It? But in 1977, he made a bold move by relocating to New York to play the Scarecrow in the musical film The Wiz alongside Diana Ross. Though the movie wasn't a major box office success, it led to a pivotal collaboration with Quincy Jones, who would go on to produce Michael's most famous albums. During his time in New York, Michael got involved with the emerging hip-hop scene at Studio 54, which influenced his future music. Around this period, always mindful of his appearance, he underwent his first nose surgery in 1978, marking the start of his journey with cosmetic surgery. The release of Off the Wall in 1979 was a turning point, transforming Michael from a mere teen idol into a true solo superstar. The album, blending pop, soul, and funk, produced 4 U.S. top 10 hits, including Don't Stop Till You Get Enough and Rock With You, and sold over 20 million copies worldwide. In 1980, he won 3 American Music Awards, including Best Soul/R&B Album and a Grammy Award for Best Male R&B Vocal Performance for Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. But Michael wasn't entirely satisfied. He believed Off the Wall could have been even more successful and was determined to surpass it with his next project. In 1980, he negotiated the highest royalty rate in the music industry, earning 37% of wholesale profits from his album sales. This was not just a financial victory, but a testament to his lasting influence and pursuit of perfection. And it was only the beginning of his incredible journey to dominate the music world in the 1980s. Ever wondered what made Michael Jackson's Thriller more than just an album? Picture a sparkling jacket and a single, sequin-covered white glove. This was his outfit during one of the most memorable performances in music history at the Motown 25. Yesterday, Today, Forever show. British Vogue didn't just praise him. They crowned him the king of cool, saying he made the moonwalk stylish with his glittering glove. But there's more to the story. Between 1981 and 1983, he worked with Freddie Mercury from the band Queen. Together, they recorded songs like State of Shock, Victory, and There Must Be More to Life Than This. These tracks were meant to be part of an incredible duet album. However, things took a surprising turn when Freddie was shocked to see Michael bring a llama into the recording studio. This, along with their disagreements over certain lifestyle choices, led to There Must Be More to Life Than This being shelved until 2014. As for State of Shock, it was eventually recorded with Mick Jagger for the Jacksons' Victory album. In 1982, a year that changed everything for Michael, he lent his voice to the song Someone in the Dark for the E.T. the Extraterrestrial audiobook. But the biggest moment was yet to come. Later that year, he released Thriller. This album didn't just perform well. It became the best-selling album of all time, with around 70 million copies sold worldwide. It dominated the Billboard 200 chart for 37 weeks and stayed in the top 10 for 80 consecutive weeks. Thriller was also the first album to produce 7 singles that reached the top 10 of the Billboard Hot 100, with hits like Billie Jean, Beat It, and Wanna Be Startin' Something Da. And that wasn't the most remarkable part. On March 25, 1983, Michael reunited with his brothers for a groundbreaking performance on the Motown 25 show broadcasted on NBC, which was watched by 47 million people. This wasn't just a television show. It was a pivotal moment where Michael performed the Moonwalk for the first time during Billie Jean, mesmerizing millions of viewers and earning him his first Emmy nomination. At the 26th Grammy Awards, Thriller swept the awards, winning 8 Grammys, a record shared with Santana. Michael and Quincy Jones were named Producers of the Year, and the album won the Grammy for Album of the Year. Beat It won the awards for Record of the Year and Best Male Rock Vocal Performance, while Billie Jean won 2 Grammys for Best R&B Song and Best Male R&B Vocal Performance. But the accolades didn't stop there. At the 11th American Music Awards, Michael won 8 more awards, setting a record as the youngest artist to receive the Achievement Award. He also took home titles for Best Male Artist in the Soul/R&B and Pop/Rock categories. Beat It and Thriller dominated the Best Video and Single categories. The Thriller music video was not just a video. It was like a short film, showcasing him dancing with zombies. This video not only doubled the album's sales, but also won a Grammy Award for Best Long-Form Video. Michael was no longer just a pop star. He had become a global cultural icon. Time magazine called him a one-man rescue team for the music industry, breaking all barriers of taste, style, and color. The New York Times summed it up by saying, "In pop music, there was him, and then there were all the others." He received $1.5 million from a legal settlement with Brotman Medical Center, which led to the creation of a burn treatment center named in his honor. But that wasn't the end of his partnerships with Pepsi. By the late 1980s, he signed another deal with them for an astounding $10 million. This agreement covered 20 countries and helped fund his Bad album and world tour. Michael also became an iconic figure in advertising, working with brands like LA Gear, Suzuki, and Sony, but his deals with Pepsi were the most lucrative. In 1984, he and his brothers kicked off the Victory Tour, which attracted over 2 million fans across the United States. It was a massive success, but also a bittersweet moment, as it was his last tour with his brothers. During the final concert at Dodger Stadium, Michael surprised the audience by announcing that he would pursue a solo career. In 1985, he experienced another landmark moment by collaborating with Lionel Richie to write the charity song, "We Are the World." This song was not just a hit. It sparked a global movement, raising $63 million for famine relief in Africa and the U.S. It became one of the best-selling singles in history, with 20 million copies sold, and won 4 Grammy Awards, including Song of the Year. But that wasn't all Michael was doing. Paul McCartney taught him just how valuable song copyrights could be. As early as 1983, Michael began investing in music catalogs, and in 1985, he made a bold move by purchasing the ATV music catalog for $47.5 million. This purchase included nearly all of the Beatles' songs, making him a powerful figure in the music industry. However, not everything was happening solely in his career. In the mid-1980s, the change in the color of his skin attracted a lot of attention. His once medium brown skin began to lighten, leading to widespread media speculation. People wondered if he was deliberately changing his skin color. But in 1983, his dermatologist, Dr. Arnold Klein, explained that he was suffering from vitiligo, a condition that causes loss of skin pigmentation. He was also diagnosed with discoid lupus around the same time. By 1986, the effects of vitiligo were evident, and he was using makeup and possibly prescribed creams to even out his skin tone. He always maintained that he was not trying to change his appearance, but merely managing his condition. However, it was difficult for him to hear rumors that he wanted to alter his racial identity. Behind the fame, personal battles were unfolding. Michael was treading a dark path beyond the mirror. During these tough times, Michael grew closer to Dr. Klein and his assistant Debbie Rowe, who later became his second wife and the mother of his first 2 children. Then, there were changes in his appearance. In his 1988 autobiography, and during a 1993 interview, he admitted to having undergone 2 rhinoplasties and surgery for a dimple in his chin. He also spoke about his efforts to lose weight to achieve a dancer's body. Yet, rumors circulated about other surgeries and possible anorexia, as he often appeared very thin and sometimes dizzy. After his death, his mother revealed that his early cosmetic surgery procedures were attempts to manage his skin condition. He didn't want to feel self-conscious. She also suggested that the intense pressure he faced may have pushed him to alter his appearance further over the years. It seems he underwent more medical procedures than he openly admitted, and some even believed he had become dependent on them. But let's change the subject and talk about one of the strangest stories of 1986, the hyperbaric oxygen chamber. Rumor had it that he slept in it to slow down aging. Quite a curious idea, isn't it? He denied this, but there were claims that he had shared a photo of himself in that chamber with National Enquirer. He explained that the photo was just a publicity stunt for a space-themed film he planned to make. But that wasn't the end of the strange stories. The newspapers were filled with articles about injections he allegedly received to maintain his high-pitched voice, about his marriage proposal to Elizabeth Taylor, and even about a sanctuary he supposedly created for her. And let's not forget the eye surgery he was rumored to have undergone. His manager, Frank Dilio, dismissed most of these stories but admitted that he indeed owned the oxygen chamber. I'm not sure he uses it for sleeping, but he believes it's good for his health. He's really interested in well-being, Dilio said. However, the stories became even more far-fetched when he toured Japan with his pet chimpanzee, Bubbles. The media began portraying him as a fairy tale character who was an animal friend, comparing him to a living Snow White. Then came the infamous story that he attempted to buy the bones of Joseph Merrick, also known as the Elephant Man. In June 1987, the Chicago Tribune reported that his spokesperson had offered $1 million for the skeleton, but the London Hospital Medical College refused. This rumor only heightened his image as a rather unconventional man. In September 1986, a British tabloid even dubbed him Wacko Jacko after the hyperbaric chamber story, a nickname he hated, especially because it had offensive origins related to 19th century racial slurs. But the most surprising part is that despite all these bizarre stories, his creativity was still thriving. He collaborated with George Lucas and Francis Ford Coppola on the 17-minute 3D film Captain EO. This wasn't an ordinary film. It was a $30 million production, premiered in 1986 at Disneyland and other parks. Fans loved it, and after being removed in the 1990s, it made a comeback after his death, delighting fans around the world. At the same time, Ebony magazine reported in 1987 that he had distanced himself from the Jehovah's Witnesses, the religion in which he had been raised. This might be due to their strong disapproval of his Thriller music video, which he had to publicly renounce in a Jehovah's Witness magazine in 1984. However, during an interview in 2001, he mentioned that he was still part of the faith, leaving many perplexed about his true religious beliefs. As the echoes of the past faded, a new chapter began, the record-breaking career of Bad. But that's not all. In 1987, he released Bad, his first album in 5 years, and the anticipation in the music world was immense. And he did not disappoint. Bad became the first album to produce 5 #1 singles in the US, including hits like I Just Can't Stop Loving You, Bad, The Way You Make Me Feel, and of course, Smooth Criminal. The album was a massive success, winning several Grammy Awards and American Music Awards, and topping charts in 25 countries. By 2012, Bad had sold between 30 and 45 million copies worldwide, solidifying its place as a global phenomenon. The Bad World Tour, which took place from September 1987 to January 1989, was incredibly successful. In Japan, he made history by selling out 14 concerts, attracting 570,000 people. In the UK, he broke a record by drawing 54,000 fans to 7 sold-out shows at Wembley Stadium, earning a place in the Guinness World Records. But his influence wasn't limited to music. In 1988, he shared the story of his life in his autobiography Moonwalk, where he spoke about his early years, his time with the Jackson 5, and the challenges he faced. The book became a bestseller, selling 200,000 copies, and reached the top of the New York Times bestseller list. That same year, he was honored with the Grand Vermeil Medal by the city of Paris and released the film Moonwalker, which became the best-selling video cassette in the US. In March 1988, he bought a massive 2,700-acre property near Santa Ynez, California, which he transformed into Neverland Ranch. This place, with its Ferris wheel, carousel, zoo, and movie theater, looked like something out of a fairy tale. Neverland was his escape from a life under the spotlight. By the late 1980s, he had earned the title of King of Pop, a name given to him by Elizabeth Taylor at the 1989 Soul Train Heritage Awards. Even President George H.W. Bush recognized him as the artist of the decade. His generosity was also well known. Between 1985 and 1990, he donated $455,000 to the United Negro College Fund, and all proceeds from his single Man in the Mirror went to charity. He even received a second Emmy nomination for his performance at the 60th anniversary celebration of Sammy Davis Jr. But that wasn't the only remarkable thing at the end of the 1980s. Michael Jackson had become the biggest star in the world. His music, style, and generosity influenced millions and secured his place as a timeless icon. However, his personal life was complicated. In late 1993, at the height of his fame, Michael proposed to Lisa Marie Presley, the daughter of Elvis Presley, over the phone after they had been dating for a while. They married in May 1994 in the Dominican Republic, but their marriage didn't last long. The media speculated that it might have been more about publicity than love. By December 1995, they had separated, and in January 1996, Lisa Marie filed for divorce, asking only to reclaim her maiden name. Despite the ups and downs of his personal life, Michael continued to push the boundaries of music. He even contributed to the video game Sonic the Hedgehog 3 for Sega Genesis. In June 1995, he made a major comeback with the double album History, Past, Present, and Future, Book I. The album was an instant success, reaching the top of charts worldwide and becoming the best-selling multi-disc album of all time, with 20 million copies sold globally. It contained a mix of his greatest hits and new songs, earning a Grammy nomination. Although some reviews were mixed, the single Scream, a duet with his sister Janet, expressed his frustrations with the media and became a hit. Another track, You Are Not Alone, made waves by debuting at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. However, not everything went smoothly. The song They Don't Care About Us sparked controversy, leading Michael to release a revised version. What do you think really motivated Michael Jackson's marriage to Lisa Marie Presley? Was it love or something else? Like, comment, and subscribe for more content.